Hello, wealth builders. Are you ready to rise and live rich? Are you ready to take steps after planting the stakes in the ground? Are you ready to take on the territory of a new story featuring a main character with admirable character? Not fixated on glamour and glitz, but on their unique and is intention. Intention setting, my friends, cannot be followed by forgetting and lollygagging. If we really meant it when we put those stakes in the ground, then we got to start stepping and acting. So today, y'all put some dollar signs in the chat for our strategy today, strolling. We're going to take a look at the impacts of strolling on our mental, our physical, and our spiritual well being. Okay, now let's be honest. We all could stand a lot more strolling and a little, or maybe even a lot less, scrolling. Now, this is how you know. If your fingers are getting a full workout daily, up and down Facebook, Instagram, Sheen, Temu, TikTok, but you like to pass out as soon as your boots hit the ground, you'll be like, whoa, 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 whoa. You out of steps and out of breath. Yes, then I'm talking to you. Or maybe every time you hit a bump in the road of life, you are spazzing out. If so, I am talking to you. That means I'm talking to me too, y'all. So, esteemed neuroscientist Shane O'Mara says that movement is medicine. One of the best ways to beat the creeps of depression and defeat is to move the feet. Even if you're lame and maimed by shame and self blame, move the feet. Somebody put some walking feet in the chat. Even if you're wounded and walk with a limp, move the feet. Even if you feel too weak, move the feet. Take a stand against defeat. Even if you find yourself in a state of depression so deep, you feel frozen like you can't get out of bed, move the feet. Move the feet to beat defeat. Lay in that bed, wiggle your toes, and count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and rise up and walk. Mel Robbins, who coined the let them theory, she's the let them lady, y'all. She calls this the 5-second rule. And this 5-second rule is based on a principle of something called metacognition. So, our brain is set at a default to keep us comfortable, to keep us calm, to keep us in this little placid state. And when we set an intention, that intention automatically is going to disrupt that placid state. So, in order to overcome the inertia, you got to count down and use that metacognition. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's like the firing of the gun at the beginning of a race, jolting you out of the grips of a brain wired to keep you comfortable. Acting within 5 seconds of a decision snaps you out of inertia into action. So, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's get to strolling. We have been taught that you have to crawl before you walk. Well, I'm a mom and I got 3 kids. Some of them did crawl before they walked, and one of them didn't. One of them was sitting on the floor and then stood up and took some steps. So you do not have to crawl before you walk, but you do have to take a stand and you have to be called before you walk. Do you remember the Bible story where one of the disciples walked on water? What happened first? He was called to get out of the boat. In the same way, we have to learn to stroll on water, stroll through the fire, and stroll into our destiny. Now, why is it that when we put our stake in the ground, and we say we're never going back to that state of depression, that state of despair, that state of overwhelm, to being anxious and all the things. We say we're never going back, and we might not go back, but we just stand there. What keeps us from getting out of our boats, out of our bottomless pits of despair? There are 3 concerns that I think keep us from being able to stroll on water: the physics, the optics, and the antics. Now, when we're thinking about the decision that that disciple made to get out of the boat and walk on water, common sense and the laws of physics said, you can't do that. That's impossible. Now, if men and the winds were in complete control, then we would have to agree. Walking and strolling on water is impossible. However, we walk by faith and not by sight. So, if Jesus can defy gravity and save humanity from its deep and dirty depravity by going up on the cross, down to the grave where he was supposed to stay, but got back up again, if he can defy gravity in order to save you once, don't you think he's able to rescue you again and again and again? So let's not be stopped from strolling on water and walking by faith by the physics that face us. Number 2, sometimes we get messed up by the optics. What are the people going to say? How are they going to take it? I just don't know if I can go. I just don't know if I can take this step because they looking at me funny. They're going to think I'm crazy. But I say, don't worry about the optics. Number 3, we get all caught up in the antics. What do I mean by antics? The foolishness and shenanigans that we perpetuate in the form of self-sabotage. We keep these patterns of behavior that we know are toxic to us. We keep them going. We keep the thought patterns that don't align with God's truth about who we are and what we can do. We keep the antics going. So I say to you today, remember that we must not walk by sight. We must walk by faith if we want to stroll on water. Now, as we begin our stroll, we feel good, we feel faith-filled, we strolling on water, but we also must be prepared to stroll through the fire. And I had to live this reality out when I lost my daughter, 35 weeks pregnant. I had a son and now I'm going to have my daughter. And I woke up one morning and I said, I don't feel movement. I don't feel movement. And I went and they did the ultrasound and my baby had passed away before she could even take her first breath on this side. And I was really, really, really devastated. And I wanted to lay in the bed and not get up again. I wanted to take the blanket, throw it over my head, suffocate, and just be done because the pain was so great. But remember what I said, you don't have to crawl before you walk, but you do have to be called before you walk. And I had two callings in front of me that called me up out of that bed. The first one, I had been granted this fellowship, this scholarship from a national mental health organization. And they had given me a grant for $10,000. And I was supposed to be creating these projects. And I had a choice. Am I going to lay here and cry and cry and cry and let this opportunity pass me by? Or am I going to be bleary eyed and teary eyed and do it anyway? So I got to creating, and I wrote a children's book, and I wrote a teenager's handbook, and I created a cultural empowerment mental health library, and I created a parent survey, and I joined with my sister who's going to be here in a few minutes, and we created a resiliency summer camp right there in the middle of my despair and grief. Now, this second calling was my son. He was 1 or 2 years old at the time. And I was called to be a loving, nurturing mother to him. I was strolling through the fire, but I was also inspired by the calling that I couldn't quit because he was depending on me to show up and be the mom that he needed me to be. And I just remember this one song. Dun 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 dun. I know a place, y'all. Ain't nobody crying. Dun 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 dun. Ain't nobody worrying. Dun 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 dun. Y'all, I'm getting teary-eyed right now just thinking about how I had to sing that song every time I wanted to lay in that bed. I just had to say dum 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 because I had been called to a place and I didn't know how I was going to get there. I didn't know how I was going to get us there. But I had to keep singing that song. We're going to get there. We're going to stroll through the fire of our grief and despair. And we are going to get to that place where we're not crying anymore, where we're not feeling hopeless and in despair anymore. I'm sorry for getting emotional, but just singing that song brings me back to that place. I had to count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and get up out of that bed every day, whether I felt like it or not, because I had a calling. And that calling was going to empower me to stroll into my destiny. My destiny, I'm sitting here before you today. The person who used to sit in the back of the classroom and hope that the teacher didn't call on me because I didn't want them to force me to speak. But I'm on here speaking because I have a passion for mental wealth and for people walking in their power. And I want you to do the same. So we have to not only put our stake in the ground, but we got to stroll on water, stroll through the fire, and stroll into our destiny. Put some dollar signs in the chat, y'all. And now I'm so excited to be joined by Nurse Shay. And I see her fanning her eyes, y'all. So is she a little bit choked up? Is she a little bit choked up? Don't be mad. But here she comes. All right.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes, yes. Hold on, we gotta get you in the camera. Okay, there
You
you
don't gotta
go.
get me all the way
Oh
out.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so the reason why I'm teary-eyed is because of the parallel of our stories, and I had no clue. So I'm here today to tell you how one day I literally put my phone down, stopped scrolling, and started strolling. So she didn't got me all emotional, y'all, but y'all put some tissue
Put
in the
some tissue in the
tissue
chat, y'all.
in the
Put
chat
some
so we
tissue in
can
the chat.
get ourselves together.
Yeah. Okay.
So in 2022, I finalized my decision to leave my career of 18 years as a teacher and to embark on a new career as a nurse. Sounds great, you say, right?
Yes, we're so proud of you.
But it didn't go as planned. I thought I had it all planned out. I was going to quit my job. I had saved up money. I was getting that Nephron money, so I was going to continue to work that. If you know what Nephron is, put your dollar signs in the chat. I was going to do all those things. I had a backup plan. I knew there would be a financial struggle, but we were going to make it. So, strolling along, Nephron lays us off. No worries. I got this under control. I will apply for unemployment. I'll get me a little check and we'll survive. I got money in the bank, unemployment check. We're gonna make it. Denied. Unemployment denied me. Time goes on. I open my bank account one day and I had $0.00. To add insult to injury, my son, who was 16 at the time, had $40, and my 11-year-old daughter had $8. And I'm like, I have $0, so I'm broke, and these kids have more money than me. Jeez, so, please. Event number one, I'm broke, $0.00 broke. So that was the first thing. But I didn't give up. I kept going. I knew I couldn't stop. Event number two, betrayed by a friend, and I'm not talking backstabbing. I'm talking about chainsaw stabbing and turned on the chainsaw. I was devastated. Event number two. On top of all this, I think I'm a smart person. So school, I knew I would have to study, but I'm smart, so I can do this. Nursing school was hard, y'all. When I say hard, 79 is an F. I'm used to getting a 77 here and there and being okay and being able to balance out. No, 79 is an F. So I had to keep my grades above an 80 with this new type of learning that I'm doing. And turns out I didn't feel as smart as I thought I was. All of that, being broken hearted from the betrayal of a friend, and just broke. I was buried by pressure. Pressure because I had my sister and my mom. They're all excited. Yay, Shay's going to nursing school. And I'm like, really? And then I have my two kids. You came to nursing school for us to live in a life of poverty. They weren't happy with the lifestyle that they were living. They were okay. They got out of the shock. But at first, they were looking at me like, you quit your teaching job to put us here. And my son, he was old enough to express that. So here I am, broken down. I spent my days sobbing, sleeping, studying, and scrolling the internet. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. I did that for days, weeks. Sob, scroll, study, sleep. One day as I'm scrolling, I'm seeing all these happy faces. People I don't like are on here smiling. People that I don't perceive as good people are having a good time. And I'm down here in the dumps. So I put my phone down and I said, I'm just going to take a walk around my cul-de-sac. One lap. Days and days went by. One lap turned to 2. 2 laps turned to a mile. 1 mile turned to 3. For 100 days straight, I walked several times a day. Rain, shine, I was there. If it was raining too bad, I walked the perimeter of my parents' house from the kitchen to the den, back to the kitchen to the den, just walking, walking, walking. And at the time, I didn't know what I was doing, but I couldn't even see a light at the end of the tunnel. All I knew was where I wanted to be. I knew that I couldn't let my children down. I knew that I had set this goal, and I was literally walking by faith because I could not see any light. So, all of that to say, I didn't know it at the time, but with that walking, I was getting my daily dose. What is a daily dose, you ask? Our creator, he is so awesome and amazing. He has instilled in us everything we need. I hear that all the time. I hate when she says, she's a psychiatrist. I'm like, you have everything within you. I don't have anything within me. I was proven wrong. I have a dose. Dose, D stands for dopamine. And this is what makes you want to be high. But we can do so naturally. We have oxytocin. It's that feeling you get. It's called a love hormone. When you give each other a hug. And sometimes during this time, I didn't want to talk. I would see my sister and I'd just say, I need a hug. And it didn't make everything better, but it made me feel okay in that moment. Serotonin, that's within us. And it's responsible for regulating our mood and our sleep and things of that nature. And then endorphins is just a good feel-good hormone. So I didn't know it at the time, but you know what all 4 of those hormones have in common?
What's that?
Walking helps to elevate these hormone levels in our body. So as I was walking, not knowing why, just up and walk, because I just didn't want to sit in my mess over and over again and continue to watch others be happy. I walked, and each time I walked, the longer I walked, the more of my dose I was activating in myself. And so I would encourage you guys to, no matter how bad you're feeling, just 1 minute, 2 minutes. I started with 5, just walking around my cul-de-sac. And I started to feel like, okay, that lip she was talking about, it lip turned into a pimp. And my pimp turned into a stroll. And I didn't make it to running. I still ain't there yet. But our Heavenly Father is really awesome, and He does instill in us the things that we need. And walking by faith and not by sight is in no way, shape, or form a cliche. And I had to learn through my experience, because I don't want to hear walk by faith and not by sight. I want to see what the end is going to be. But during this time, it was black. I couldn't see. So walk. Stop scrolling. Start strolling.
And very well said. Very well said. Thank you guys so much for joining us for this Live Rich Now challenge. And as we continue to cover these strategies, we want you to be thinking about, which strategy do you feel like you can really commit to beyond this 10 days? Because we have a little surprise for you after this. So just keep a track, keep a tab of the strategies as they're being presented. And I want you to pick your, let's say, top 3. Think about, as we go through, 3 of the strategies that you are hearing that resonate with you. Because we're serious about this thing, y'all. We want to live rich now. And we want you to do the same. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow with more of the 10-day transformation.